Hello everyone, welcome to the Redmen TV. It is the Redmen Originals podcast. I'm Steve Hall. I am joined by Chloe Bloxham and by Dan Clubb. Yeah, there's just the three of us today. It was meant to be four, but Chrissy P felt a little bit unwell, so he's not here with us today. Best wishes, Chris. Hope you get better soon, my mate. So yeah, just the three of us today. In part one, guys, we're going to be looking ahead to the next run of Liverpool fixtures. Can the Reds get their season back on track? We're going to find out between now and Christmas exactly what Liverpool's season is or isn't going to be. And then after the break, we're going to have a little chat about Ibrahima Konate, some contract stuff, some more comments made by him, maybe suggesting he might be staying. Is it? I don't know. It's the honest. Every time someone talks about transfers, I'm not exactly sure what they're talking about. So that is today's show lined up. Before we start, thank you very much to our season-long sponsors, oosh.co.uk. They're the absolute best. If you want to go and check out their website, there is a link in the description. And if you use the code Redmen on any of their draws, then you'll get 20% off the fee. So get yourselves involved in it. And then personally from me, thanks to everyone so far who's donated to the prize that I put out on my own socials and shared on the Redmen stuff. Trying to raise money for the wonderful Wavertree Cricket Club. So far, we've raised almost £1,000 already in a couple of days, so thanks so much everyone who's got involved. We're giving away some Liverpool signed memorabilia. There's a 18-19 shirt signed by the entire squad when they pulled in the Champions League. Alexis McAllister signed shirt, Joe Gomez signed shirt, some other bits and bobs as well. Bit of a Sadio Mane's boots. Thank you everyone for donating so far. It's a cause that is near and dear to my heart, so thanks so much. If you want to get involved, I have put a link in the description as well. If you want to win one of those amazing prizes and help save a local club. But yeah, that is all the messages. We can start talking about the footy, so welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you for not being ill. That's helpful.
It was a close call.
Yeah. Chloe's recovered just as Chris goes off. So it was nearly me and you, which would have been fine.
Yeah, it would have been wonderful.
We'd have had a good time.
Excuse me.
Not as good as you not been here, but still excellent stuff.
We'd have made great content. It'll just be even better content now. You're
elevated by Chloe Bloxham, as
you.
ever, as life is.
Life's always better with Chloe Bloxham in it. That is
it?
I'd say 99% of people would agree with that statement.
You're the 1%.
No, I love you. I'm messing on you. I'm your biggest fan. I'll tell you this all the time. I'm like your hype man.
True. Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about the Reds, unfortunately. Chloe, I will start with you. In theory, and we'll go through some of the games and stuff in a moment, case by case, but there are a lot of games coming up where Liverpool should win between now. They've had a relatively difficult start in terms of fixtures and stuff. There's a little run now where Liverpool are playing, newly promoted sides, maybe some sides who are down the bottom of the league. Even the Champions League fixture is a home game against PSV, for example. We are going to really find out exactly what this season is going to be between now and Christmas. Liverpool play all those games. I mean, the title is probably, even now, is probably a pipe dream, but you never know. But what are you expecting from Liverpool now? Because, again, they should, in theory, be able to get themselves back on track with what's coming up.
You say that, but my problem for me is that we had a big problem against teams who used physicality, who used long balls, who targeted our weaknesses in behind the fullbacks and also set pieces, long throws, things like that. And, for the majority of the two games that we won, you didn't really see that. I mean, I looked at Aston Villa, and I think against the likes of Brentford, we faced like 23 long throws or something like that, including long balls. And then you went to Aston Villa and it was less than half of that. So you talk about us playing games that we should be winning. However, I don't know whether we fixed that problem that we were having, because we then came up against Aston Villa, who decided not to target those areas, and Real Madrid, who didn't target them either. Manchester City targeted them at times, but very rarely. They were just the much better sides, and we were really poor on the day. So I don't know what to expect from Liverpool here, because you expect Nottingham Forest and the Sean Dyche to really target the weaknesses. I think Sunderland have been incredibly physical, has looked really good, and they took points off Arsenal the other day. So you're now coming up against teams, West Ham in there, Leeds, who will try and target those areas that previous teams, the likes of Crystal Palace at times, Brentford for definite, the kinds of weaknesses that those teams targeted, and they had so much joy against us. So it'll be interesting to see if Slot has actually found an answer to those problems that we did have.
There's the fixtures then, Dan, obviously they return against Forest. Then they are home again to PSV. I think Liverpool will be appreciative of back-to-back home games after the break. They then go to West Ham, host Sunderland, go to Leeds, go to Milan to face Inter the Champions League, host Brighton, go to Spurs. So I would say in particular, if you before the season, and again, things do change, they definitely do change. But if you said Liverpool go Forest at home, West Ham away, Sunderland at home, Leeds away, I mean, you would be expecting 4 wins out of 4. Chloe's right in terms of style of play. Nobody's a banker for Liverpool. Liverpool should have been Brentford. Yeah. So you've got to caveat that. But I think if Liverpool are going to right the ship a little bit, this is the time now they're going to have to. Because put it one way, if it goes the other way, this season's almost a complete write-off, like a really, really, really horrendous one if things don't go your way. So what are you expecting over the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, listen, certainly domestically, I think it's right to say that if we don't manage to put down a proper run of results, then you can absolutely write the season off, certainly when it comes to any remote title chances. I think it is also right that on paper, that's a relatively kind run of fixtures and a run of fixtures that we should be looking to gain maximum points from. However, I kind of side with Chloe in terms of, unfortunately, I think, Aston Villa will have seen, Unai Emery would have seen a blueprint of how to target and how to hurt Liverpool. Unfortunately, didn't really have the personnel with which to do it. Like, they're taking a knife to a gunfight if they think that Ollie Watkins can go long and you can sort of go to his head and be a physical presence. It just doesn't work like that. So, yeah, they didn't really have that in their toolbox, whereas I think a lot of the teams coming up do have, the tools with which to hurt us in a way that we've been susceptible so far this season. So, it's hard to know what to expect from Liverpool right now. And again, you look at them and you think Forest can come to Anfield and put it on us a little bit. Got to go to West Ham. We've had a little mini resurgence under Nuno, of course. Sunderland, as Chloe rightfully says as well, have been magnificent season long so far, and they've got physical presence. They've got physical threat. So, yeah, it's going to be a difficult run. However, as I said right at the top, if Liverpool are going to salvage this season, now's the time to do it. Games come thick and fast. At the start of the campaign, when you look at the fixture list, I certainly fast forward a little bit to this Christmas, winter period, however you want to describe it. And you want a kind run because the games are so relentless, and it is exactly that. However, with the teams we've got coming up and with the way Liverpool have played and the way we've gone about our business so far this season, I don't trust us. It's kind of how I feel. I don't trust us to win back-to-back games of football right now. I think that's really, really hard to do. And again, I would almost rather see different teams there because they are newly promoted. They are struggling when it comes to West Ham, but they're exactly the sort of opposition that I fear most of all right now.
The flip side is if it was City, Madrid, you would...
Of course, there is no right answer to it. That's just the way we're playing right now.
Because the team have been in bad form. It's absolutely fair to say. Let's focus on the Premier League ones for now. We'll talk. We'll make the Champions League a separate discussion in a moment, Chloe. You mentioned before, like Liverpool have clearly had the issues that we've identified both before the international break. Obviously, that week aside where things felt a lot rosier. I'm not 100% sure what Arne would have been able to do in the week anyway. He's had no players. They've all been away on international duty for the first place. Don't think he's been on holiday.
Has he been in Dubai?
I hope if he has, fair play, like whatever. But no one's pitched him anyway yet, so fair enough on that one. The question will be, is it a tactical thing where he can make changes, or is it a personnel thing where he actually can't do too much about it? Because if it's the former, I think I would still back him to be able to find a way. We've never seen him go through this type of run for Liverpool. Of course he hasn't, because last year he was almost faultless. But I would back him to be a good enough coach tactically to be able to figure something out. If it's personnel and he thinks we're just you're kind of working with what you've got. So what do you think it is of those two? Do you think it is just, oh my God, this team just isn't ready for this, or do you think it's actually something we've been doing wrong that he could have had a nice little 2-week break to think how we can fix it going forward?
I think definitely tactically, because there's a lot of times that teams lump a ball up the pitch and instead of trying to challenge for the first ball, they're all sniffing and waiting for the danger for the ball to drop. We are so slow on second balls. So I think tactically there's something in there because, these teams keep there's ways to beat Liverpool and these are them. However, I also agree with the personnel because, there's been too many players on that pitch where they don't win individual battles, and what you've got to do is win individual battles all over the pitch. I mean, I don't want to, kind of pick anyone out, but also the fact that, you've got some smaller players now on the pitch maybe doesn't help from the likes of set pieces. But using Brentford's one from a throw-in, I mean, Kirk, should be honest, who's ready to kind of be in front of the man who just has an easy chance of getting there. Previous to that, why do they win the flick on so easily? Why is no one challenging that? Why aren't we first that ball? There's a first ball that Liverpool have been beaten to, and then the second one they've also been beaten to. So I agree with personnel at times. Players just aren't switched on. They're not winning individual battles. Absolutely. However, there's also a tactic going wrong there for Liverpool that you need to change to make it harder for opposition teams to exploit you in those areas. It makes them harder for them to win second balls and have 3 lads around the second ball and not a single Liverpool person on it. There's got to be a tactical difference between, I mean, Caicedo's goal for Chelsea, where there's 3 of our midfielders, and yet it seems we're outnumbered because of how much space and the space that Chelsea utilise. It feels like we don't put enough pressure on the ball at the correct time. So for me, there's tactical problems all over the pitch, including the press. When the press doesn't work, how easy it is to play through us, but also then from the likes of set pieces and things like that. I think Slott's been very, very clear that so far this season that actually set pieces is not him. So maybe have a word with somebody else. I think he keeps talking about, it's already hard to win a game of football, never mind when you're negative on your set pieces. And I think he's fair to say that, that's down to someone else. He maybe leaves that to someone else. But at the same time, winning individual battles and things like that, getting outplayed and outmuscled and outbullied in the middle of the park, the problem that he has is that there's too many problems for me that you don't know where you're actually starting from. Let's hope he knows, and let's hope he's had a lovely 2 weeks to figure that out.
You're right to mention, obviously, the fundamentals of winning battles and duels across the pitch, because there hasn't been enough of that going on. The non-negotiables, really, for me, certainly in the midfield. Liverpool have lacked in that department all season long. But I think the fundamentals, the set-piece stuff is a problem, and it's been a problem for a while now, And you are right to also suggest that we have lost a little bit of height, but it's not that significant for me. And other than the Brentford one, Salah, you're not coming up against real sort of, teams who can exploit you and got sort of quite creative ways of doing it, and it's not landed the Giants week in, week out. Brentford is that. Brentford is a proper test. We've seen that under Thomas Frank. We've seen that when Jurgen Klopp was in charge of Liverpool. That's forever going to be a problem. Like, that's not new. But the other teams have so much success first and second balls against us. That is a problem of our own making. Like, we do have to address that, in my opinion, because otherwise teams are going to keep punishing us. Aaron Briggs, the guy who's in charge of set pieces of Liverpool, like, he wasn't brought in, interestingly, to do that job initially. He was brought in, I think, as a personal training coach, something like that. Just sort of individual rather than personal, working on like just players on a one-to-one basis. And he's since been given the role of taking over the set piece. I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that he isn't up to the job, but we aren't very good at it either right now.
We're not very good at scoring them either.
Ironically, the one that got the Salah assist one seems to be something that we actually worked on. Other than that aside, we aren't great at it. But I personally believe, again, come back to the situation when it comes to losing a little bit of height, which we have done, but we've had Ekatike, Isak when he's on the pitch is also, 6 foot plus. So we aren't so short in that department to be losing so many set pieces, in my opinion.
I think, if anyone hasn't seen it, by the way, a bit later on, after you finish watching or listening to us, Paul Dalglish and Chris did a very good show on Press and Matters about like second balls and stuff and Liverpool's issues around it. And that's what I say. I think a little bit's personal, but I think a lot of it's tactical. Yeah. And I'd like to say, I think Arno's had 2 weeks now to try and figure some of this stuff out. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that they've got themselves into some semblance of a shape. Before we move on to our Champions League, I do want to talk AFCON, because towards the end of this run, Dan, I mentioned before, Liverpool's after they play Inter Milan in the Champions League. So in the Premier League, it's Forest, West Ham, Sunderland, Leeds in the Premier League. Then it's Brighton, Spurs, Wolves, either side of Christmas. As it stands, Mo Salah will miss the Spurs game onwards for AFCON. There's debate at this moment in time whether he misses the Brighton game as well. I said on a previous show, and I got a bit of criticism, and I need to clarify what I meant. Like, I love Mo Salah, and I think he's brilliant. I'm not sure the squad we've got at this moment in time, tactically in terms of the press and how we defend, is amazing at the moment, because Salah, for physicality reasons or whatever, isn't always the one to do it. And I said, actually, we might learn about Liverpool going forwards when the AFCON comes around, and how do Liverpool react when they don't have Mo Salah, and maybe do you put someone else over there? I don't know. It might be better, it might be worse. We'll find out. But I still think if you asked Arne Slot, he'd be desperate for him to not to go to that Brighton game.
To have Salah
Salah available and not go to AFCON.
Without a shadow of a doubt. And on that note, Salah's been a shadow of himself, hasn't he? Let's be honest, this season. He's not looked anything like the Mo Salah of last season and any of the previous seasons before since he wore a Liverpool shirt. But yeah, the preference would always be to have him available, of course it would. And I take your point on Liverpool might be a better unit. We might be more, working together as a team, and the press might look better, etc., etc., etc. But ultimately, Mo Salah is a match winner. Mo Salah is a world-class operator. Therefore, you want him on the pitch. And I think actually my biggest sort of concern around not having him available for any extended period of time, and to extend it even further by adding a game at the start of that, would obviously come into that as well, would be, are we well placed now to live without Mo Salah? Do we have an obvious alternative that we just know is the solution over there? No. We've tried Jeremy Frimpong a little bit, currently sidelined anyway, injured. Chiesa obviously comes into that conversation. He may well be the answer, but when has he put 3 games together back-to-back from the start in Liverpool? Like, never. And to do it in such quick succession as well feels far-fetched to me. So, Liverpool without Mo Salah, whilst might well work for a game or two here and there, for any prolonged period of time, is not the answer for me whatsoever. And I think Liverpool will be desperate for him to stay around. Liverpool will be desperate for Egypt to get knocked out of AFCON as soon as possible to get him back, because we're just better for having him. And I know, again, performance-wise, team-wise, result-wise, it hasn't looked like that at times this season, but we aren't ready for life at Mo Salah now. We don't have an alternative option over there. Yeah,
I'm of the mindset there'll be certain games where Liverpool could do without him, and where you have to go high press, high energy, and things like that. But you're right, there are no outstanding candidates. It would be Chiesa for me, because he will do all that kind of stuff. But like I said, the worries about it, can he play back to back to back?
Where's the sample size of him doing?
No, he said the way he talks and the way he's acting is like he's fully fit and he's ready to go. But yeah, the proof will be in the pudding. We'll find that out in due course. Let's move on to the Champions League, Chloe, because to be fair, what that win over Real Madrid did, they actually put Liverpool in pretty good nick in this Champions League group phase. So as it stands, they're 8 on 9 points, 3 games won, obviously the one defeat in Galatasaray. I was looking back at the table last year, and the team who came 8th, so got into that top 8, was Aston Villa on 16 points. As it stands, like I say, Liverpool got 4 games left, they're on 9. So in theory, if they got 7 out the last 4, probably would be enough. Never count your chickens, but you'd like to think ending at home to Karabag, you'd like to hope Liverpool would win that game. Chelsea, I know Chelsea found it difficult away, but I think that's a different kettle of fish. I think PSV next midweek is massive, because I don't think you want to have to go to Inter Milan or Marseille having to win. I think you want to be able to make it really where a draw in either of those games. If Liverpool beat PSV at home, a point in the San Siro and a point in Marseille is absolutely fine. If you lose to PSV, or you drop points against PSV, all of a sudden you're probably chasing a win in one of those grounds. And Liverpool's record in Italy in the San Siro is really good. But Milan are top side. They've consistently gone far in this competition in the last few years. Marseille away is one of the most difficult away stadiums in terms of atmosphere. I think Arne and his team and everyone should be well aware that the significance of that, getting the 3 points at home against PSV.
Yeah, they should be. You've got to win your home games. They're the important ones. We had, obviously, Atletico Madrid, which was quite tough, and then Real Madrid, which was, one of the...
It wasn't the kindest fixture draw, was it?
Ultimate bosses in the Champions League, especially. So, yeah, Liverpool will have to, get 3 points on the board against PSV. Otherwise, they have got a mountain to climb. Inter have won 4 from 4, if I'm not mistaken. And we know how defensively solid they can be. So, you don't really want to be going there trying to win the games of football. Marseille, like you said, not sure what to expect in terms of on the pitch, but off the pitch, I can expect an absolutely unbable atmosphere.
But they haven't been good on the pitch, is the honest answer.
They haven't, but also playing in those conditions aren't always easy. Was it Belgrade where we had to go? And it wasn't, that's not easy.
Anywhere like that in Europe.
But Galatasaray.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Liverpool have to get the 3 points against PSV, and it's a game that they should, win, being at home, and hopefully the crowd understand the importance of getting those 3 points there as well. So, yeah, that's the game that you prioritise. That's the game that you get 3 points in, and you try and build on from there. And look, if Liverpool find a little bit of form and then go and win at the San Siro, then you put yourself in a position where potentially one of the 2 last games you can rotate and maybe drop a couple of players like your Maccas or
I don't think they're there now.
He might not be.
That defeat in Galatasaray is really harmed that. It's on a club. What's going to happen? I mean, they're definitely going to be in the top 24 or whatever. Yeah. But it's whether the last thing Liverpool will want is that playoff round for a number of reasons. 2 extra games, and also you've just got to get through it. We saw a couple of upsets in those rounds last year. No one expected it to be Club Brugge going to Aston Villa, but and it ended up being there because they got themselves through. I suppose, Dan, I mentioned before about can Liverpool go on a run as the title of the show. It also means in Europe, there is a stage here now where, listen, unless something massive happens, Liverpool aren't going to defend their Premier League title. I'd be shocked now if they did. They are rank outsiders, all being told. They're going to need to go on 5 or 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games, really, and hope others around and falter, which they might. But Europe is there for them still. We were talking on previous shows, obviously, on your break, about the makeup of this squad. It does seem more suited to Europe than maybe this current version of the Premier League. I think, if Liverpool can win against PSV, they're almost home and home. Again, banking on the fact that they're going to be Karabag, which you'd like to hope they do. They can start looking ahead of the Champions League because this squad looks maybe better suited at this moment for European success than Premier League success. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment, yeah. Whilst, I maintain we have definitely, undersold ourselves in the Premier League thus far. I don't think we've been anything like what we come to expect or what we should have expected. I don't think we've lived up to those expectations. But having said that, no, I think it is right to suggest that we are more equipped to have a proper go at the Champions League this season, and why not ultimately? But you're right in terms of just winning games of football. I don't think it matters what composition it comes in now. I think we're at a stage where we just need to sort of inject some confidence back into these lads, and I think the whole up and down roller coaster ride of winning and then getting beat and not turning up and then turning up, and levels of performance just being so inconsistent, that needs to end now, really, between now and Christmas, most definitely in there after into the new year as well, and hopefully between then and the end of the season, because I just don't think you put yourself in the best possible position whereby if your domestic form, so I know you can sort of concentrate and shift your focus to one competition or the other, but I don't think that suits whatsoever. I think just winning's a habit ultimately, and just winning games of football consistently. We did it last season, obviously all through the group stage, absolutely perfect record until the final game, whilst also maintaining the Premier League form. That's Liverpool at our best, and that's Liverpool at our optimum, and that's what we need to get back to starting on the weekend against Nottingham Forest.
Last point on this bit of conversation, Chloe, before we go to a break. I do want to talk about Alexander Isak and the situation Liverpool have got with him now. So he came on again for Sweden the other day. He was obviously in the match day squad against City. Arne Slot, obviously, at 2 or 3-0 down. Probably thought it's not worth what's the point? If Liverpool were chasing a goal, maybe one to go, they might have threw him on for 10-15 minutes, see what you can get. It is going to be interesting again what Liverpool and Arne Slot do with him. He has been bought to play. That's obvious. It goes without saying. British transfer record, Liverpool's best team was designed to have Alexander Isak playing centre forward in it. He's had this little setback. Obviously, again, the holdout in pre-season. I will be very, very interested. I'm not sure I'd ask you. When do you think he comes back in? Because at some point, Ekitike's been good. Maybe had a little bit of a dip in recent games. I think it's probably fair to say he hasn't been quite at his best, which maybe makes it a bit of an easy decision. But at some point, Arne Slot's going to have to put Alexander Isak in, and he's going to have to be Liverpool's, not only literal number 9 on his back, the centre forward of Liverpool, because Liverpool have not spent £125 million to be on the bench. When do you see this transition from Liverpool not having him to having him up front? Is it going to be a straight away thing? Is it going to be more gradual than that?
I don't know, because we tried bringing him in, and it was clear that he wasn't quite ready for it, and he did his hamstring, didn't he? Which you can talk about Hugo Ekitike being maybe a little bit off the boil, but that's because there's no one behind him to help him out, but also to push him, because there was no one to swap and rotate him with. There was a Chiesa, but let's be honest, for some reason Slot still does not like that lad. So there was no one also pushing Hugo in that Liverpool side, and you need that. You need other people to pick up the slack at times as well. I ultimately want to see both of them on the pitch at the same time, because for me, Hugo Ekitike and Dom Szoboszlai have been the 2 best Liverpool players so far this season, and Alexander Isak, I understand, is this British record fee, totally get it, but I've not seen it in a red shirt yet. And therefore, if we've got to build him into this, I want to see him alongside Hugo Ekitike, who has been in form for Liverpool, who has been a spark for Liverpool. I think we've struggled to get Ekitike in the game in the last couple of games, actually. I think he scored an offside goal against Villa, in which I was like, oh my God, that is like the first involvement in that entire game you'd seen him. So yeah, I'd like to see them both starting. That's as simple as I'd put it, but it's obviously not going to happen, is it? Because Cody Gakpo is ultimately going to play off that left wing. Where do I see him playing? It depends how fit and ready he is. I don't think Liverpool will make the same mistake of pushing him one too many and playing him, 2 or 3 in a week. That PSV game at home, I don't get why he can't, start that. Maybe not as intense as the Forest, and you expect Forest to look, this isn't just what they do, but you expect them to be physical and bash you about a bit and put one on you and make sure they're there and they're ready for a fight. So for me, that PSV game is probably the nicest game to try and fit him back into at Anfield. Hopefully he can play well against PSV, get some goals behind him. But I'm going to be really sad when we eventually make that decision, because I know the player that Alexander Isak is, but I haven't seen it yet for Liverpool, and therefore, Hugo Ekitike, I know what he's about, and I've enjoyed everything I've seen so far, and I don't want to limit the expectations I put on him. And that's where I now have a problem, because I'd like to see both of them, but I don't get how you do that.
To be fair, the last time he was fit, they both did play. And there might be a world down where the manager is thinking of going to more of a 4-4-2, and he is going to play both of them. And then the only
problem is, though, is if one of them gets injured. I mean, that Galatasaray game didn't, that Ekitike went down injured with cramp, I think it was.
That was a game Isak came off, wasn't it?
Yes. No. Isak came more.
Frankfurt.
I think Isak had just...
I was there, of course, yeah.
Yes. Isak had just came on for Galatasaray, I think,
yes,
and Hugo Ekitike went off. The only problem with playing both of them is, if one of them gets fit, then you've got to change your system again, because I'm not sure he backs
and the 4-4-2,
and then with Mo Salah going, then
the 4-4-2 that's hard to get Salah in. Maybe
that might be a look ahead to
AFCON. Yeah, there's loads of situations. Again, there's lots of it maybes. The issue is that it's hard to find a way at this moment, and trying to find a balanced team that's got all of Liverpool's so-called best players, and it is tough. But I do go back to it. I think if we all know how good Alexander Isak is, and he's a world-class striker when he's ready. He played a few minutes for Sweden the other day at time recording. He's going to play tomorrow at some point, you would guess, again in another game for Sweden. Obviously they've had a bit of a blow in terms of their qualifying. They're not going to have to go down the other route. Yeah. But he is going to be in the team. He will be, and I agree. Hugo Ekitike, great. Maybe he goes out to the left. Maybe he gets shifted. We don't exactly know what the plan is. But I was thinking the other day about how, if the personnel is going to stay the same and opposition are going to attack Liverpool the same, what can Liverpool maybe offer differently to maybe stem the tide? Over, like you mentioned before, just winning more second balls. That's all. I understand all that. I think one of them might be getting Alexander Isak fit and firing. And if he's up front, being the Alexander Isak that we know and love, that is a huge point of difference. Again, I go back to Ekitike's been really good, but Alexander Isak, the level should be a little bit higher. Yeah,
that's why he was bought. He was bought, to be that level higher. And I think, we from certainly the outside believe the pecking order to be Ekitike's come in, great player, but ultimately an understudy. And we will experiment with both of them on the pitch at the same time, maybe when they're chasing games, or Ekitike from the left, the Chloe references. But yeah, I think when it comes to the out-and-out 9, he is the one. Isak will be ultimately the answer, because he's a superstar. He was a, proven plug-and-play Premier League operator, world-class, comes in, scored against us enough. We know what he's all about, and he will be our guy. And I think you're right. I think one of the goals solve and cover up a lot of problems that we see at Man City. Nobody sat around here now believes Man City, they showed a little bit last week, they might be closer than we believe, but they aren't the perfect team. They aren't absolutely watertight at the back. They haven't got this fully functioning midfield right now, but they've got Erling Haaland. Therefore, they will win more games than they lose. And Isak is in around the similar conversation when he's at his best, when he's thriving, because he is absolutely elite level. So if Liverpool can get him to that, then it might well be the answer to what we're facing, because we're facing a lot of issues right now. Chloe, you said it before, we've got so many problems. Yeah. Maybe just getting Isak going might be a help.
Do you think it's easy to do that, though? Because he's not played a lot of football, and when he has played football, it's very obvious to tell that he's not up to speed.
It's proven thus far how hard it is. Because to your point, and to your point as well, we fell in love with Ekitike. We're almost like, he's ours now. Isak isn't. Isak's just this guy we signed. after a big, fuss in the summer. And we know how good he is, but we've never seen it Liverpool shirt. Literally haven't seen it yet.
But my point is, do you think he's ready to be able to do that?
No, you've got to drip feed him in. So looking at the fixture list, Forest, you could get minutes there. I think you're right about PSV. I think he could start that game, definitely. I'd be tempted to drip him in half an hour's, 20 minutes here and there, potentially as far as the Brighton game. That's how long in advance. And
then he isn't going to be the impact, is he? That's the point, is that...
Then he's not going to be your number 9.
No, but I'm also banking on us playing better across the board and winning games as a functioning football team whilst just getting him up to speed. But you're right, if we come back from this break and we look an absolute mess on Saturday, then you might have to turn to Isak a bit quicker and say, we just need you.
Because the idea, and listen, I think it's fair to say, we all trust that this Liverpool fitness staff, last season they were brilliant. One of the reasons Liverpool won the league last year was how, keeping the squad fit and healthy for the most part, touch wood. This season's been a little bit more hit and miss on the injury front, it's fair to say, Dan, but the talk for Frankfurt was he was fully fit. He just got injured. It was, and that's just one of those things where he'd hit all the numbers, he'd done all the training, he'd given his 8 weeks or whatever that he needed, and he just got an injury. And he's done that at times. Of course, he's done that a little bit for Newcastle. His injury record wasn't unblemished. We might get to a world, and to answer Chloe's question about it, where it might not be a settled team, but it might be a game each. And you're trying to look after them both a little bit, because that could be the world we get to. I just think at some point, and I don't know, I agree with Chloe, Ekatike's made this a more difficult conversation. The same way Szoboszlai made it a difficult conversation for Florian Wirtz to get in the team. The two lads who we thought maybe were going to be the backups actually have been the best players. But I do go back to it. I think, listen, ultimately, Liverpool have lost loads of games and Ekatike's been involved, and I'm not blaming him for them. No. I'm not. He's been a positive. Yeah. I'm just trying to find points of difference that if you sometimes when you're going to shift the tide away, Sobo's been excellent, and again Ekatike's been good, and there's been various players who've played well, but we do lose. So is there a massive point of difference? And I don't think it's wrong to expect your record signing and one of the best strikers in the world to be that point of difference. He should be the point of difference. Otherwise, you kind of got yourselves a bad deal. I think there will be a lot of pressure on. There should be when there's that transfer fee. Yeah, that comes with the territory, doesn't it? And it comes with expectations. And Florian Wirtz falls into the same category. Let's be honest, and he hasn't lived up to it either thus far. We've seen signs, I think, more recently, but you're absolutely spot on. Ekatike, from your point from earlier, absolute house on fire. Hit the ground running when he started. I do think he hasn't been quite as prominent in more recent games, whether that's through his own fault or whether it's through us not getting the ball to him enough or whatever. He has been quieter. He's looked a bit tired as well. Yeah, where maybe that is in terms of just his workload and obviously the intensity of the league and what have you, and playing every 3 days and stuff like that. But then internationals, you see the other day, his goal, absolutely lovely. Played 90 for France the other day as well. Yeah, so he's playing a lot of footy, but he's got himself into that reckoning by his form. Let's be honest. Whereas for Liverpool, I think Szoboszlai has been the only real constant so far this season. Ekatike has been good, and then not so much. But yeah, it's difficult. But ultimately, I come back to it, and I think the point about sort of playing one then the other, I don't see it. I just don't see it. I think at some point, whether we like it or not, we'll hit upon an 11 that's our best 11, our Champions League final 11. Hopefully it actually raises his head in the Champions League as well. And I just think Isak will be in it. I really do. I think he's too good. He's too proven. He's the finished article where Hugo Ekatike isn't. Is a project still. Yes, exactly. And that must be a lot of way around. That is exciting, by the way, because what a project Hugo Ekatike will be, or hopefully will be then, because I think he's a superstar in the league. He's actually win now guy, isn't he? That's why he's spending that money. But my only problem with it is the fact that I think right now I just don't think Isak is fitness-wise at the level where we need him to be, and that is my only problem. It's not just fitness, it's not just fitness, it's sharpness. Yeah. That's what he's looked like. He's like most of all. You've got him out onto the pitch a few times, therefore he's fit enough to get onto the pitch, but he hasn't looked like Alexander Isak when he's been out there either, at all. Even the Southampton game, which he ends up scoring in, there's 2 or 3 chances before that, where you think United at home was the one where I think a fully fit sharp Isak scores that goal. 8 months prior, he finishes that. Yeah. What was the game where he came on and he has he scuffs one on the edge? Is that Atletico Madrid? I'm not sure. I'm trying to think, and he scuffs one on the edge of the box, but he has 2 chances on the edge, and his movement, you can just tell, wow, that is that's the player we know we've bought. But it just wasn't
there as a whole package yet. And at that moment, you could say, yeah, he's not had a pre-season. He's not. We're coming up to Christmas here. Like, we need him to be playing well. And if he is lacking sharpness, look, the only way to get that is playing games. But if we need to win now, and he's not, it's a very difficult situation.
We've already seen it, very small, albeit the sample size, because of injury and what have you. But like when they were both fit, in inverted commas, and Ekitike was the hot hand. There was games whereby we still went with Isak, and people, Liverpool fans were up in arms a little
Chelsea
bit.
Away, mate.
Yeah, exactly. There was definitely examples of us going, well, this is the guy we spent all this money on. Not to say that Ekitike was a small fee, because it absolutely wasn't, but Isak was the marquee signing, therefore he played. It felt like a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be that way. Interesting then, so we'll see what Liverpool, like I say, as and when they do get Alex back involved, and hopefully he can finally really kickstart his Liverpool career, because we could all do with it. So, fast forward yourselves, guys. Where are we now? I'm just looking maybe 4 or 5 weeks' time. You're sitting Christmas Day, eating your roast dinners. You've pulled your crackers. You got your hat on.
No.
Carry on.
No.
Yeah, no, I know. Chloe looked at me.
You've told the joke.
Yeah.
You've got,
that was the joke. Well done.
No. Listen, because you're Philip in mind, I meant Christmas crackers. You know, you got your little toy out. Sometimes you get nail clippers and you're a bit disappointed because it's a nail clipper. You're bored.
Yeah. Magnifying glass sometimes.
The graters are a waste of time, aren't they?
Yeah.
I ate that fish thing that tells you if you're telling the truth or not. It folds up rubbish. Nonsense. Let us know in the chat your favourite.
Tape measure. The little tape measures.
Andy them though. Just really? Andy to have.
Too small.
Depends what you're measuring. Anyway, back to it. Where's Liverpool season, Dan? Put your Mystic Meg crystal ball on. Liverpool will have played by that point, to go back to it, Forest, PSV, West Ham, Sunderland, Leeds, Inter, Brighton and Spurs. How are we all feeling over our Christmas dinners? Are Liverpool title challengers? Are they, are they comfortably third best in the league? Are they doing well in the Champions League? If you had to fast forward now, given where we are, what would you predict?
Yeah, good question.
Thanks, mate.
I would suggest that the title's off the table, off the Christmas table by that point. I think.
I think it's off the table now. I'm
quite
sorry
possibly, but I think definitely.
Yeah.
So you're suggesting there's probably another loss or two?
I think there's some drop points along the way, but I think actually as well, I think looking over our rival City and Arsenal, I think they look somewhat perfect.
They've got tougher games.
They have got tough games still, but I think if they get through them, that's even more daunting for us.
Arsenal. For me, once again, their problem is, once again, I don't see them conceding, and I know we'll do it in the bias, because maybe there's something there that might change that. But for me, it's so hard to score against them that they just need one moment, and that is ridiculous.
So what are we thinking for Liverpool?
Yeah, I'd like some semblance. Are you confident? Yeah, I am confident. Yeah, I think we'll have established ourselves as well and truly in the top 4. Because I think people are having slight concerns about that right now, and understandably so. I think we'll have seen a semblance and something that looks remotely like a proper football team. Getting Verts closer to what we expect, and Isak, etc., will help the feeling and the goodwill, if you will, around Christmas time. But what I will say is I think we'll have seen the signs and the green shoots to suggest that quietly, potentially, maybe not out loud, maybe not on podcast, but we are starting to look at Europe. A European charge. It's interesting because what tends to happen around Christmas, Chloe, and I listen, with the greatest of respect to some of these clubs who are in and around the top 4, 5, whatever ratio you're talking at this moment in time, around Christmas is where they all have to start playing 2 games a week as well. Like some of them, like again, Arsenal, City, Chelsea, Spurs, Villa to an extent, although the Conference League is a bit different. Sometimes it catches up to you where you have to go again, where, again, the likes of the big teams tend to have good, like Liverpool have always. Sunderland will find this. Liverpool, from the boys. Man United even to an extent, I mean, Sunderland are badly hit by AFCON as well. I think about it saying they've got quite a few African players in there. United the same. United in the same boat where they're going to lose a couple. And the best player probably. And sometimes, I always think Liverpool have often recently, had good winter periods because they're just used to the robustness. They're used to it. So on that, I don't think it would be a massive surprise if there is a divide between 3rd and 4th. But Liverpool needs. I think Liverpool will be 3rd, and I think I'm with you. I think I'll be looking at it thinking, okay, I think we'll beat PSV. Inter, I don't know, but take a draw then. I think my prediction would be that I think we're okay 3rd, but we're probably more looking backwards at this moment than up, because up still feels a bit far away. But I'm with Dan. I've got a sneaky feeling, just confidence will have built a little bit, and we might be looking at Europe thinking, okay, can we maintain this top 4 challenge and have a real go at getting ourselves into Europe? Because my theory all along on this, Chloe, has been that Slot was gutted at that PSG performance, and he thought
he had a real chance at the Champions League. He said in an interview at the start of the season, if I could choose one, I would choose the Champions League because I've already won the Premier League. All his signings suggest that he's half their Champions League signings. Really, if you look at what the Champions League is to the Premier League, I've got a sneaky feeling he's really targeting that. Are you as bullish on it as me and Dan maybe are?
Well, I can see the form there and see that Liverpool have lost 4. Have lost 4 of the last 5 in the Premier League.
It's not great.
It extends
worse than that. Therefore, no, I'm not.
You want proof before you...
Yeah, I am not feeling this.
Surely this can't... I mean, Mick McCarthy can't. Yeah. Surely, though. I mean, but really, can it?
I mean, once again, look, you said at the start, these games coming up actually fear me more.
No, I agree. They do.
Here's the thing, I have not seen Liverpool put a run of fixtures or performances down. Because, look, we got the fixtures with the last-minute goals, the first 5. I've not seen a run of games from Liverpool that, for me, make me have belief that we can go on a run. And Liverpool might do that because we are a top club, and at some point, surely it's got to work out. However, I have not seen that. I expect Liverpool to focus on the Champions League more. I think we will be in the top 4, in and around, but once again, I don't think we'll be clear of the
not
other people. No, I think there'll still be teams around us. So for me, I think it'll be a very top 4 kind of 1 week will win, 1 week will lose, 1 week will win. Like, I think it'll be a top 4 form. I think the distraction will be the Champions League, where everyone goes, good God, we've kind of forgot that, like, they're in this competition. And not that it's easier, but you have to be less consistent in the Champions League. So if you can get through in that clutch of 8 and you don't have to play a playoff game, for me, I think Liverpool have got a good chance in the Champions League, because under the lights at Anfield is, one of the greatest atmospheres.
Sure, against Madrid, what Liverpool can do, it depends on what
on a one-off night. It could be anyone, and that has remained the case even when I watched us get bullied by Brentford. I knew this team, the squad was capable. And how many
teams? Look, teams will do it. Don't get me wrong.
It's hard to realise.
But there's not as many teams in the Champions League who are in that clutch who will go through, who will play like your Brentfords. And look, Brentford beat us, and you can beat however. As long as you find a way to win, that's how to do it. And Brentford, by the way, can play some nice football along the floor. I mean,
absolutely,
absolutely. But my point being is, I think we might be more suited to the Champions League. And look, I don't expect us to be perfect in the Champions League, no, but I expect us to not be underdogs, but people to believe that there's blood there, go after it, and Liverpool can kind of pick them off.
I think they're going to win every game, except Inter.
Really? Yeah.
A draw or?
See, I don't know, because I think they'll be Forest, and I think they'll be PSV. I think they got too much quality for West Ham on their massive pitch, and they're not great at the big set pieces.
We don't do well at West Ham.
No, we do. No, the opposite, we do. Our record at West Ham's brilliant recently.
Is it?
I think we've scored 5 past them.
I went there and watched us get battered by them. That's why it is.
A few years ago.
Yeah.
Salah, when was the one where Salah came?
Avigi scored late on. I think Trent scored a free kick.
That was a while ago.
Yeah, that's why.
Recently they've smashed West Ham. Okay. But again,
what
better Liverpool.
When Salah and Klopp had a little argument there? Did we win that game or did we lose?
That was Klopp last year.
Years ago, yeah.
Since like Liverpool have had. All right.
Did we lose?
Well, Trent did this.
Yes.
I remember that. Yeah, I do remember that.
We smashed them there in the orange kit a few years ago. I remember that as well.
Recently, it's been all right. Against last year in the league, it was tough at home.
It's just the stadium. The stadium shit. So you think, oh my God, every game must be crap.
But I think Inter, where again historically that's a game Liverpool have always won.
We do well in San Siro.
I think that might be a tough one, and I think it might put a little bit of pressure on.
Honestly, if we win all of them and draw with Inter, I'd be absolutely made up, because I don't expect anything like that.
We haven't done anything this season that resembles going and doing that.
I'm probably being too optimistic. There will be a drop game in there.
Liverpool at this current moment,
winning 8 on the road is stupid.
You're in the title conversation if you do that.
Yeah, I'm going to take it back. Winning 7 of 8, even at our best, that's tough. Yeah. Maybe they drop points. Maybe Spurs might be tough. Sunderland might be difficult. But at back was around field.
Brighton are our nemesis, really, as well. Let's be honest. That's never straightforward. Far from it. My only concern is, to Chloe's point about top 4, if it becomes a bit of a scrap and a bit of a dogfight to get in top 4. I think it's so difficult to do anything meaningful in Champions League. I know we've done it in the past, but anything meaningful in Champions League.
Let's go with 5th though. Is that going to be a thing? Coefficients and all that.
I don't
5th
remember.
might be an and again, Liverpool doing well in Europe actually helps. So who knows? But yeah, I'm with you. That 4th place.
If you've got one eye on domestic stuff, but if you're cemented in 3rd,
the only thing you can say
Arsenal fell away a little bit towards the last. When they knew the Premier League was a bit of a pipe dream, their league form suffered at hands of their Champions League form, and that makes sense. It's so difficult. It's so tough.
Could you go to the teams in and around us in the league, because the likes of, I don't think Newcastle are
right now. So we're 8th. So United are 7th.
So Spurs would have to still be in the Champions League as well, whilst also going for that top 4. So they'd struggle with us. Chelsea the same. Sunderland.
You would expect to. They've been brilliant.
Just don't get me wrong. Yeah. Villa, they'd be a little bit easier because of the fixtures that they will have. Your Newcastle, I thought, would be up there, will be in the Champions League still. So there's where you say it's harder to be in that top 4 scrap. A lot of them who are in that top scrap will
that's
also
what the top 4
be in the Europa
if
League.
they're deep in European competition.
But that's my point, is a lot of them who are in that haven't. So Spurs haven't been in 3 games a week territory for a little while, and when they were, obviously they won the Europa League, it's absolutely dog now because of how many teams are in the Champions League. So I wouldn't expect them to be used to the level of playing that. Like you said, Villa have it a little bit easier, but once again, it's hard. Newcastle aren't expected to play 3 games. We're the ones who have done this for a long period, so we should have the know-how. And like I refuse to believe this. Like you're a big enough club if you're in that in every single year. Then you've got to be used to it. I don't care about the fitness stuff right now, because if you're especially only going for top 4, like you've got to battle your way through that. It's easier in terms of there's so much pressure to try and go for that Premier League, to try and be perfect.
I just think
if they're too far ahead of you, then
I always just think November Christmas time is where like the quality teams tend to shine through, and I'm still backing Liverpool to have that. But like I say,
you've just said we've got a nice easy run, so you should expect Liverpool to. Yeah. Like with that run of fixtures, you shouldn't sit here and expect Liverpool at their best, or the Liverpool that should show up. You shouldn't expect them to. You talk about the dogfight and stuff like that, and it impacting the Champions League. It shouldn't, because
but then you shouldn't. But you shouldn't lose 6 of 7 or whatever. Like that. That's the thing. And maybe we're just again.
Liverpool haven't shown us anything this season so far to suggest.
It's just maybe it's just blind faith and optimism.
I don't see them ever being a clear 3rd. And like I said, I reckon they turn their attention to the Champions League. But for me, the league is gone. I think the next best after Arsenal is Manchester City, and they're the only team that can really cause any damage. I expect them to win 1 week, I expect them to lose the next. Like, that is how I expect Liverpool to play. And until they show that they can win 3 games, 4 games back to back with a game midweek, then honestly that's the only time where I'll be like, oh, okay, I can change my mind on this.
Recent
but I've not seen anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see how it pans out. Maybe
it's not. It is possible. Like, Liverpool can. Something might just click. Something there could just be something that mentally was there or whatever that they just managed to click, and it feels different. I don't know. I'm not saying it's impossible for Liverpool. All I'm saying is I can't sit here hand on heart and say I expect Liverpool to win 6 of those 8 games because I've not seen anything.
I think they might.
Say that.
I think they might. But again, there's every reason they might.
It's going to happen. What I would say is it's going to happen now. Off the back of a break, favourable run of fixtures on paper again. Granted, if it's going to happen,
home as well.
Yeah, exactly.
We've had a lot far away games.
To your point from earlier, lots under the lights at Anfield, even domestically as well.
Loads
of
home
time.
games.
This is the
just
time.
Be good enough that I can sing "Oh Come All Ye Faithful," please.
Yes, absolutely. Very quickly, super chat from Esham before we go says, do you think Isak and Ekatike is what Liverpool wanted to do with Suarez and Torres? Do you think the plan is they wanted both of them to start? We saw it the one time they were both fully fit. He did pick them both.
I get that, but Liverpool we weren't in great form. Like, we've not been in great form.
I personally believe that was similar to what we said earlier on about Ekatike being the man in form and wanting to get Isak some minutes and get him up to speed quicker. I just think it was a little bit
Can they play together?
Maybe can they play together? Yeah, maybe have a look at it. Who knows? But I would suggest it's more this lad needs minutes, but we can't drop this lad. Yeah. Let's get them both in the team together. Personally.
And we did try and drop the other lads to get this other guy minutes, but that wasn't working.
But then the lad we wanted to get minutes to wasn't playing particularly well. It was,
it's a bit of a scramble.
I'd love to see that. Because could you imagine if they created a partnership? Wow! But you don't see a lot of teams play with two strikers, do you, these days? And then what happens with Gakpo? What happens with Salah? Where does Florian Wirtz fit in? Like, there's a lot of questions about
that system. Suits Wirtz.
By the way, on
it
the
doesn't
right,
suit Salah. Yeah. Salah's not playing in that.
I enjoyed Wirtz in that Frankfurt game. Was it Frankfurt? What game was it?
Okay, against Real Madrid.
No, he was on the right. He lost the ball. It was Frankfurt. Yeah, he lost the ball for the opening goal. Yeah. I didn't mind him in that game of football, to be honest.
I think he's looked okay of late. I think his last two performances have been much more like it.
And also, a lot of people were like digging him out in that City game, and I thought he was possibly the most meh player on the pitch for us.
He was absolutely average fine.
Exactly. But everybody else was dreadful. As well.
That's what happens when you spend 16 million pounds. People expect more. Last one very quickly, by the way. Alice from me and back might help as well. We'll definitely fingers crossed on that one. Right then, we're going to go to a quick break. After this, we're going to be speaking about Ibrahima Konate, his contract, and his comments to the French press. So stick around, we'll be here. Hey everyone, it's November, and at the end of the month, one of our wonderful Redmen Plus Legend subscribers will be winning these. Yes, they are a pair of goalkeeper gloves, and they are signed by former Reds goalkeeper Bruce Grobbelaar. He won league titles, he won FA Cups, he even won the European Cup as well. And yet at the end of November, one of you lucky Redmen legends will get these goalkeeper gloves. So head on over to redmenplus.com, join us as a Legend subscriber, and if you do that, at the end of the month, you'll be in the draw. And this pair of wonderful goalkeeper gloves could be on their way to you. Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. Get yourselves involved in that Redmen Legend, Club Legend, let me do that again. That Redmen Plus Legend subscriber competition. Get yourself some gloves signed by one of Liverpool's most decorated goalkeepers. Bruce Grobbelaar won a lot of trophies for Liverpool, tons of them. That will be a massive prize for somebody. And then, of course, we will, around December, we do 25 prize giveaways. We've always done it for the last 4 or 5 years now, Advent giveaways. So not a better time to sign up as a Legend subscriber. Some amazing prizes lined up for December, including some memorabilia signed by the biggest legends of this football club. Right then, guys, let's talk about Ibrahima Konate, moving away slightly from the on-pitch stuff to off the pitch. He spoke, Dan, this week. They were reporting, keep saying that, Liverpool were confident, there'd been a new contract offer. Ibrahima himself kind of pushed back on that. I've got his quote here. It says, I've seen a lot of things in the press recently, like Liverpool have made me a new offer. I don't know where that's coming from. My agents are still in discussions with Liverpool, and I hope my decision will be made very soon so I can announce it. So this time last week, we went through the contract rigmarole last year 3 different times.
It was fun.
It was tedious. 2 of them got signed, 1 obviously we know famously didn't, or infamously didn't. I want to pick up on that second part first. My agents are still in discussions with Liverpool, and I hope my decision will be made very soon so I can announce it. I don't understand, if he was going to leave, why he wouldn't announce that. He would very much do what Alexander-Arnold did and leave it as long as possible. My guess would be, I don't think he was coming out I might be wrong, coming out in January going, I'm off to Madrid next summer. He might, but I think it would tend to be more keep your mouth shut. So does that maybe suggest the scales are tipping towards that this new deal could happen?
I think it hints at that. Yeah, I think it hints at that. And some of the reporting clearly does as well, and the fact that he's quite openly speaking about it. I would suggest he's done that in the past as well. I think he was the one that brought it up before the Champions League game earlier on this year, maybe back in the last season. Obviously, the group phase, I think he brought up the fact that he'd been offered a new contract. Obviously, at the time, he rejected it for whatever his reasons may have been, maybe terms, who knows. But yeah, I think Konate is relatively keen to stick around at Liverpool. I don't think maybe the reports of Real Madrid being absolutely desperate to get him are quite
maybe they were
either,
desperate and then they've watched this season. And maybe he's also realised that, the money that the likes of maybe Gabriel or Saliba is on, because they're consistently brilliant. Right now, he's
but again, that can be said for a lot of Liverpool players, can't it? Right now, he's certainly not the only one who've not been living up to the play that they are on a consistent basis. But yeah, I think he is suggesting that he's more likely to stay at Liverpool, which I would put down in the category of good news, personally. I think that's a good, positive thing. And I think you want to see players of that calibre walking away from football club at any point. Certainly not for free, exactly, yeah. Well, the only thing I would say is, in terms of how he announces it, or whether he announces it, or if he, whatever, is it sort of, we've dealt with Real Madrid a few times now, would they be, inclined to announce it? Were he to sign a pre-contract agreement potentially? Yeah. Because if he's talking there about something's coming soon, or maybe we'll announce it soon, who knows? He might be suggesting that Real Madrid may well force his hand on that and come out and say that we've signed this lad for them. Because they do that a lot.
I mean, they literally put a bid on for Trent on the eve of the window, wasn't it? Yeah, and also, we had a massive game against United coming
up. So that is the spanner in the works here with Konate. We are dealing with a football club that have got previous for doing these sorts of things.
They are the look, I think Liverpool should be a destination for a lot of footballers, but Real Madrid believe they are the destination for every footballer in the world.
Certainly for a free agent.
Yeah, certainly for a free agent.
I'm not sure what the interest is like, because I'm with you, I agree, and they are, but I think the fact that he spoke about it, usually, Chloe, I think if a player was looking towards leaving, the comments are usually, nothing to say. It's with my agent. Yeah. The fact that those comments to me are more, again, aimed towards he's probably going to stay, because he hasn't, just because he learned his lesson. I think it was Lille before, and he spoke, and then he got a bit of a, by all accounts, a little bit of a wear, like, emotional kind of thing. We don't discuss contracts in public, because he don't, bat it away. It's more the fact, if he was going to Madrid, I think the last thing he would want to do, because I'm with you from a Madrid point of view, maybe, but listen, we knew Trent was going to Madrid probably at the start of last season, almost, give or take. But everybody agreed to keep it quiet for everybody's sake. Because what happened is he got booed the second it was announced. I know it's a bit different with Ibu, maybe not the Scouts thing and whatever, but it would still be a negative reception if he said, I'm leaving in January. Like, I just don't believe that anyone's going, all right, yeah, we'll just crack on for a bit, close. So the fact that he's talking about wanting to announce something soon maybe suggests that, like and Dan said before, he is happy to stay. And I think that is a little bit of a turnaround, because I think most people, I might be wrong, apologies for speaking for people, were under the impression that he probably had his eye on Madrid. Yeah. Maybe that has changed a little bit now.
Maybe so. And, whatever that reason is, I've got no idea. I did think he was going to go to Madrid. Like you said, it's just when Madrid come calling, you just fear, no matter, who you are as a team, because they just have this way about going about things, and they get things done. Maybe it is a positive that he's coming out and he's speaking about it, and he's wanting to speak about it. But like you mentioned there, we've seen players who have refused to speak about things, but then done gestures and celebrations on a pitch that then get people talking and make you think, oh, maybe not. And then in the end, that was more towards you, the fans. So for me, I just wait and see what happens. I'm not sure whether he's staying. I'm not sure whether he's going. I'd like him to stay, because honestly, I think he's an absolutely brilliant centre half. And I think last season, for the majority of last season, he was brilliant. So yeah, of course, you want to keep that kind of player at that kind of age, and tie him down. But I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, I absolutely think he's going to stay, because it's Real Madrid, and like you said, he's got no loyalties to Liverpool. Where the Trent situation was slightly different, because you put yourself as a Scouser, as a Liverpool fan, in that situation, and you have your heartstrings attached to the club. It's different, where Konate doesn't really have that. So yeah, it's tough to say. Also, the likes of Mbappe in that is over there, who exactly like that. So yeah, time will tell, and we'll see what happens. What I will say is, if he announces that he's staying, I'd like a similar video to his announcement video, because I did quite enjoy that.
Well, he announced it himself, really, didn't he? When he was in the park. That
was brilliant. Yeah, I'd like one of them.
I think he knows the content game. I think he'd be fine with it. There's a conversation about whether Madrid won. There's been reports in Spain, by the way, that Madrid maybe have got their eyes on other targets.
Mark Gay, he's been mentioned.
I think that's, speaking of Gay, that's the next question, I suppose, Dan, is that it all kind of would tie in together. I suppose if Liverpool are succession planning past Virgil van Dijk, and the idea is for him to have 2 more years and then leave, which probably feels like best for everyone, then that is probably more of a reason for Ibu to stay. I think if Liverpool would have signed Mark Gay in the summer, he would be playing now, and Konate would be on the bench. I'm convinced that would have been the case. Maybe that would have made things a bit different. Maybe he was waiting to see all that panned out. Now, with another year under his belt, he can go, actually, even if I'm in and out of the team for one more year, if I sign a 4-year deal, I'm eventually going to get myself back in this team. It kind of all makes things a little bit clearer on that regard. Maybe not getting Gay inadvertently maybe made it easier for Konate to go, you know what, yeah, I'm all right, because I wouldn't have took 2 years not playing, but kind of get my head around being in a battle for one, and then Virgil leaves, maybe.
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah, there's a succession in sight, isn't it? If you like, there, because you're right. If he'd have suddenly found himself, out the team and on the bench for the big games in particular, maybe started questioning his role and how committed he was to the cause earlier. As you're saying, now he's very much, entrusted as the guy alongside Van Dijk. And if he's aware of the conversations around Van Dijk's future, obviously he'll know his contract length and how the duration of it. But also, if he now knows that will be the end of Virgil van Dijk at Liverpool, there's obviously, a leadership vacancy there as well that maybe Konate's got an eye on. Who knows? He might have aspirations to be part of the leadership group and the vice captain or what have you. So yeah, it might have given him a more optimistic view of his Liverpool future potentially. As you say, if you go and sign Mark Gahey, all of a sudden, he's coming in to replace him. He might have been questioning everything, and the Real Madrid proposition might have looked all the more attractive. So yeah, inadvertently, not done Liverpool many favours, but it might have done Liverpool and Konate some in terms of if we are desperate to keep him, which again, I'll come back to it, I think we will be. And his form's not been it. It's not been great by any stretch of imagination. He's probably been the one under the microscope. Out of the ones who are pre-established at Liverpool, I think he's the one who's come into question most of all. Personally, new signings of a different conversation altogether, but Konate's been really, really poor at times, actually. However, is he the sort of player you want to let walk away for nothing? No, not at all.
Yeah, he's like I say, his form has been up and down, but he's still a very valuable player. He's 26. I'm sure Liverpool will be keen to keep him.
We know what he's capable of, don't we? Ultimately.
Yeah. Interesting one, Chloe, over the break as well. I've seen sometimes news trickles out from whatever sources. A couple of reports suggest that Liverpool are already opening talks with the likes of McAllister, Szoboszlai, Gravenberch about new contracts, and the manager and the club keen to tie down these lads so we don't end up in this mess again. I think again, we spoke about it most of last year, but in terms of like new manager, sporting director changing, another sporting director, we had Jürgen's meeting, Ely, like things kind of got left where they were, and unfortunately, those 3 plus Ibu's contracts were all things that kind of were byproducts of that. If it's nice to get, again, I would assume these reports are true. I think Lewis Steele was one of the people who reported them. Liverpool trying to get ahead of that. They don't want to be in this situation again. Like it feels like they've lessons are learned. See, whatever happens either way with Konate, yeah, the Liverpool's bigger guns of an age, your mid-20s lads who are entering or about to enter their prime, wanting to get them tied down early because they're all lads who other teams would be looking at.
Oh yeah,
I think that was reassuring to me to figure out Liverpool. Yeah, that whole situation was a bit of a mess with Jürgen and Julian Ward. Michael Edwards leaving, Julian Ward coming in, then he leaves, and then Jörg Schmadtke's here and then he's gone, and Richard Hughes is about to come in but he's not in charge yet. It feels like now they've got everyone where they need them to be again, and they're the type of conversations that we want Liverpool to be having. Yeah,
it's the Liverpool that we've known for a long time, where we're always thinking about the next step and we're always one step ahead of everybody else. And like you said there, look, we tried to sign Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah last season, and look, they are the best of the best and have been the best of the best, but they also are at an age where they've only got they signed 2 years left because maybe that was what they had. You're talking about the likes of Gravenberch, Sobbo and Maka, that's your midfield for the next 5 to 10 years. So it's very important to keep them down. It's very important to keep them happy. And to have them, they're the entire engine house of what happens. So yeah, massively important that Liverpool are ahead of that to make sure we don't get in these situations, because teams come knocking, you've got your hands tied behind your back, you've got to give them what they want, and Liverpool can't afford to lose those kinds of players. They are world-class players. They are players who, the likes of Sobbo, who is literally single-handedly the life and soul of this football club right now. So yeah, good that Liverpool are getting ahead of it. Let's hope all of them go a lot smoother than the previous 3.
They'll all have it. They'll be interesting. They'll all be demanding a lot of money, and they'll all be deserved to be paid a lot of money.
They're all on their first contracts. I think I'm right in saying. I don't think any of them have had a contract renewal since they've had the football club. So they'll all be, well within their rights to be having these conversations and saying,
it's year 3 for most of them, isn't it?
Since I arrived, what have I done? What have you done for me lately, isn't it? And they've all done brilliantly. Sabo, particularly this season, obviously he's really sort of carried Liverpool on his back for the most part, hasn't he? But individually, all of them have been absolutely outstanding since they arrived in different guys. And McAllister was a constant last year. Gravenberch emerged out of nowhere, really having had an up and down start to his life at Liverpool. But they absolutely all deserve new deals. And the level of upheaval you're talking about, were you not to tie them down, is just off the scale.
Was it all three of them in one window? Was it?
Maka was really on, wasn't it? The rest of the other two came
those
later in the summer.
And
the whole midfield.
So you think of how much work we had to do to get them, and that was all in one window, and look at how it worked out. Look, this season's not going well, but those three as individuals, brilliant. So could you imagine if we, like, Liverpool didn't do this, and the upheaval you'd have to do to try and replace them? World-class footballers are hard to come by. And you've got, a superstar in Ryan Gravenberch who can become world-class. You've got Maka, who for me already is world class on his best day, and Sobbo, who is beyond a leader and gives you absolutely everything.
Stop, simple as that.
So it's a good thing. Let's hope it can get done relatively quickly.
Where do we stand on Robbo? Sorry, just a quick. Out of contract in the season, we just gonna draw a line under.
The issue with Roberts, I think the issue is Kerkez. It'll depend how Kerkez goes, because Liverpool have invested in Milos Kerkez. He is the long-term left-back. I hate buying backup players. It's the worst thing in the world. You just end up with crap players. You might as well give Andy Robbo another deal, but it depends what he wants. Where's he at? Because he nearly left in the summer. There was the Madrid talk. There's been
the Celtic talk?
Yeah, but he could go Celtic at 35. With all due respect, I know he can go Celtic whenever he wants. He's only 30, 31. Andy Robbo, he's not that old. No. Wherever he goes, he'll be going to time.
A lot of miles on the clock.
He has.
I love him, by the way, but leadership is another conversation.
I think the idea was Kerkez was meant to be better than this, and that Robbo would go, and then he'd bring in maybe an Owen Beck or a young lad to come and back him up. It hasn't gone.
Does Costas' contract run out when he gets back? What is
2026? I'm thinking that might be 27. Actually.
Yeah, I think he signed a new deal. He has signed a new deal.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe he's another bridge. But again, it's just a bit of a messy situation. But the way Robbo spoke the other day, I don't know. Is the honest answer. No. If you'd have asked me 6 weeks ago, I'd have said he's got no chance.
Yeah, but now
he's Liverpool's first choice left back now.
Yeah. That's why I brought it up. It's an interesting one.
Yeah. I don't know. My guess would be the conversations will happen soon, but he said himself that they're not happening yet.
No, I know.
And if they're not even happening now,
unless they see it as a really straightforward conversation, and it's like same terms, one more year.
I said on JNO Insight the other day, because I had Paul Gorst. It was Paul Gorst who asked Robbo the question in the mix zone, and Robbo said, "I haven't spoken to anyone."
Yeah.
And it was kind of, we were like, "Oh, that's a bit like." At some point, you've got to just give him the respect of speaking to him. The fact that no conversations are happening yet is a suggestion maybe they're happy for him to move on. And listen, that's something we mentioned before about the next generation of Liverpool. We're not that far away, really. Probably within 2 seasons, Alisson, Van Dijk, Robertson, Salah are all going to probably leave. And then it's up to the midfield three that we mentioned before. In theory, Conor Bradley, Florian Wirtz, Alexander Isak, Hugo Ekitike, Cody Gakpo. They're meant to be the next iteration of Liverpool with new lads coming in. So that's why it's so important, like I say, to get all these young and new lads. The idea, I think, was keep those and then the influx of signings we've just made, that is your next core team. Yeah. Unfortunately, as it stands now, whether it be injury, lack of form, up and down, there's so many questions about all the new lads. It's really only Hugo Ekitike who everyone's like, yes, and the rest of them, it's how does he fit? Is he injury prone? Is he robust enough? They've all got questions. Maybe the goalkeeper, I think, probably fewer questions.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the next iteration of Liverpool will be fascinating as and when they get to it. But whether that includes Andy Robertson in the very short term, it probably should. But find out. Listen, I'm with them. The priority, do make the Konate, whatever the Konate decision is. I'll be honest. If he leaves, I don't think it's the end of the world. I'd rather him stay. Of course I would. I don't think he's irreplaceable. I think you can go and spend 50, 60 million pounds on a centre back and get one who's as good.
Yeah.
I just think you can go. Well, I think you might get one for nothing.
Well, I was going to say, I think you're right, but only if you get one of the ones for nothing. In terms of like, if you get Gahey, straight swap, Konate.
But then I think you can also then go and spend like 50, 60 million quid and get a very good centre back.
I'm just not sure you want to be doing that, because I don't think you're too far removed from having to do that a couple of times around the squad anyway. Right wing.
Yeah, no, I see. I see.
And Liverpool, the lavish spending last summer isn't likely to be repeated anytime soon. Let's be honest. We're not going to be, breaking open the bank left, right, and centre every single transfer window. Anyone that thinks we are, by the way, I'm sorry to quash your dreams, it's just not going to happen. So we might have to be a little bit savvy. And I think allowing Konate to leave for nothing, having to do 60 million there, plus 60 million to replace Van Dijk at some point, plus because Gomez is going to leave in terms of squad numbers at centre back. Like, there's going to be money have to be spent. The last thing you want is having to spend it for somebody just.
I think the preference is for him to stay. I don't think he's that good where it's like, oh my God, he's irreplaceable. There are certain, like for example, I thought Alexander-Arnold was that. Like, I thought Trent was almost irreplaceable. I love Conor Bradley. I think he's fantastic, but he's not Trent Alexander-Arnold in terms of...
No.
They're different in what they do. They're just different players.
Yeah.
I thought Mo Salah was probably irreplaceable. This version of Mo Salah is probably...
Right now,
this version of Mo Salah is replaceable. Virgil, I still think is irreplaceable.
Yeah.
Like, even at his worst, Van Dijk's level is fantastic. I don't think Ibu's quite that. But it's one less headache to keep him. Because whoever you sign, you'd be happy if they were as good as him. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. Like, I don't think you're going to get someone in who's going to be the next Virgil. I think they're just unicorns.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, Mark Gay can play off the left, so Mark Gay could be Virgil replacement.
But you've got to get him.
Exactly.
To the point, like, because I think you're right. I think you've got to. If you don't, I think you're giving yourself major problems at the back. Because all of a sudden you're a year out from Van Dijk not being there, and you've lost Konate. Like, that is pretty. And then
you've got Kirkes and Conor Bradley, who.
It needs to develop the young lads. They say Konate should be the future of the Liverpool. When he was signed, he was always the future of Liverpool. Him and maybe Leone are meant to be the future, along with Mark Gay.
Leone can't be brought into the conversation. I understand why you would, because I nearly did. But there's just not a conversation to be had there. We've seen, unfortunately, an hour of him. But
when you
not really good, by the way.
But when you spend 25, 30 million quid, there's obviously a long-term plan. But yeah, like I say, the pieces all kind of fit together for him to stay. I hope he does stay, and I think he will. I think he probably now feels like he will. But what I'm saying is, I don't think it's oh my God, the world's ended. The Ibrahima Konate goes. I think there are similar level centre backs out there. I think he's a good centre half. I don't think he's like top 10 in the world. You know what I mean?
Do you not know?
No, I'm not even sure he's top 10 in the Premier League. But
there's certain. I think good is slightly lower than what I'd have him down as person. I don't think there's many centre backs you could just go out and sign as a like for Ibrahima Konate on his best day, personally.
No, on his best, I agree. But that's what, he's not that. He is just inconsistent.
He certainly has been this season. I think if you look back, you don't have to go too far back to see him play consistently well, like last season. I hope he stays, and I hope he has a great season. I think Liverpool can cope if he leaves, is what I'm saying. It might impact things elsewhere where you might lose a signing, or there's been links to Semenyo, and or maybe something else doesn't quite go your way. Might not be on the cards. Yeah, okay.
But it'll be fascinating to see how it all pans out. But for now, like I say, he needs to get back to form, consistent form. And then we can't take him. And I think that's the message for Liverpool as a whole, really. Everyone just needs to get back to the level, and fingers crossed it all works out. Let us know your thoughts on anything we spoke about in today's show, guys. Hope you've enjoyed it. A little bit of a different one today, obviously, with not too much football to look back on, but plenty ahead coming our way. Stick around, because in a few moments' time, Chloe and Dan and I will be heading over to the Biased Football podcast. We're going to be speaking about Arsenal and their injury to Gabriel and what that means potentially for the Premier League title race. There's a little bit on salary caps, which is a bit mad. Got a few other bits and bobs as well, so we'll be over on Redmen Plus for that one. So yeah, do come and check that out. For now, thanks from me, from Dan, from Chloe, and from the entire team. We'll catch you all next time. See you later.